What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we're doing a tier list for Astigmatism on Mal Warfare. Ryan, let's hear the mutation.
Mal Warfare is the map where we have to escort Orana's transport as it purifies security terminals from a rogue AI. We win the game if she purifies all 5 terminals, but we lose if the enemies or suppression towers destroy the transport. Your units have reduced vision and attack range, and enemies are cloaked and also have longer range.
So Twotuuu and Sticksbender are in the call with us today. Twotuuu and Sticksbender, how are you guys?
All right.
I'm doing okay.
Okay, so Twotuuu, how are we gonna rank the commanders this week?
So this one, commanders with heroes that are detectors are going to do very well. Or commanders with fragile detectors will suffer because long range means their static defense will hit your detectors a lot. So you need extras. But overall, it's an easy mutation, just very, very annoying.
Oh yes. How about you, Sticksbender?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just get commanders with good detection, commanders who don't have to worry too much about having to get close and thus having to tank a lot of things. And there's a couple comps that become really nasty with long range plus short-sighted, like Terran Mech or something. But for the most part, that's about it. Just detection and the hit points to get close.
Cool, let's begin. Abathur, where do we have him?
For Abathur, his early game is going to be even more difficult because you can't see, and the enemies have longer range. So if you're like used to farming in certain spots, now you can't even see them, and they will hit you earlier than usual. So like your toxic nests might get killed before you even get close to them. If you're fighting against Terran, you also tend to get less biomass, so it's even harder to get a first brutalist.
It's even worse.
Technically, you don't have to do anything until like 6 minutes because you can let them come to you, but you're going to be doing a lot of nothing if you don't get an early brutalist. So, but once he gets started, he's fine. Make sure you get Leviathans so your overseers don't die. And Vipers are good later on.
Vipers are
I
good.
put him in B.
B. How about you, Sticksbender?
I think if the enemy comp has long range immortals, you're just gonna die and not be useful at all.
Even with Vipers?
You can't cast Blinding Cloud until you have like vision of the area. You're going to be kind of relegated to being a support for your ally then, which is not exactly that great.
All right.
I feel like he could be B, but there's some really bad comps, so I would put him in C because of those really bad comps.
What do you think, Twotuuu?
I think if you know, because Immortals won't come until the 2nd or 3rd area, and if you know that, then you would, if you're P2, you would have Swarm Hosts. If you're P0, you have an Air Army, and you have Toxic Nests to like put in the paths where they come from. So even if you can't see them, they'll walk on top of them.
For me, Abathur games are all about the early game, and if you can't get a fast ultimate evolution or get yourself going in the early game, it's gonna be a whole lot of doing nothing and mostly getting carried through the most important part of the game, in my opinion. So personally, I had him in C. So I
don't have a strong. I'm not. It's not a strong B for me. So C is fine.
All right. So are we
I
okay
can
with
see
C?
why.
You can see
Yeah.
why. All right. Let's have Abathur in C. If you are 3rd prestige, it's probably even lower. If you have 1st prestige, lower C, probably lower C for 1st prestige. If you're the limitless Abathur, you're probably like D tier or something. Let's move on. Alarak, where do we have him?
His hero isn't a detector, but his hero can kill stuff without having to detect it because when he waves his arms, that damages stuff that's cloaked even if you can't see it.
Oh, yes.
Which makes Alarak quite durable to stand in front of everything for long range. He can kill enemies who he can't even see because they're out of his vision radius for short-sighted, and he doesn't need detection to kill them, although he wants detection. But hey, gang detection is pretty easy. You just need a cybernetics core, and then you make detection out of your gateway. So pretty solid, and then eventually you just get a bunch of ascendants and kind of nullify short-sighted by just using orbs, which means you don't have to see the problems that you are killing.
Yes, I agree. Ascendants are better this week because they have splash, they are indiscriminate about detection, and they can stay in the back line.
So I feel like Alarak is probably around A.
What do you think, Twotuuu?
I also put him in A because, yeah, for the same reasons. Also, Alarak is a very, very powerful tank. So if he gets hit, you just like lose a few supplicants or something, even if you have to get close. His detector is on the ground, which means missile turrets won't hit it. So a lot of detectors die to like things that hit only air. But since he's a detector, Havoc's on the ground, you don't
Yes.
have that issue. And as long as your ally doesn't trigger like them to send overseers or observers, then
You
you
should
can
be
actually
good.
like you can actually keep an Alarak, not Alarak, a
Havoc.
Havoc ahead, and then you can kind of see them coming. So
Cool.
yeah, A is fine.
All right, both of you had him. I had him in B, but both of you had him in A, so let's have an A. Arcturus, where do we have him?
I think I used just P3 army for this one. You dump a few bunkers and turrets, and you have like extra blimps for mobile detection. And
Cool.
I don't remember if I used ESOs or not. Probably salvaged them later. But yeah, get to a place, get to the next terminal. You can defend pretty easily, and you can use ESOs to clear the next area even without having vision of that area.
Yes.
So that's good too. I put them in A.
All right, how about you, Sticksbender?
The only thing I have to add to that is that if you do use ESOs, you can use the ESOs as a bit of like a scan because they give vision.
Oh yeah, they do
even
give vision.
with
That's true.
Short-sighted.
Although not
So,
a vision-giving scan, just a scan.
Well, they don't give. You mean they don't give detection?
Or yeah, not detection.
They.
Giving, provide vision.
But the
I
thing is,
mixed that up.
if the detection radius of your units isn't reduced by short-sighted, only the vision radius, which means if you have a blimp sieged up and then you use your Earth Splitter ordinances to provide vision of the enemy, then you will be able to shoot at them because you'll have vision provided by the Earth Splitter ordinance and detection provided by the witness.
Yeah. Plus, I think with the contaminated strike, you can also decloak stuff. I'm not sure if that only works for energy-based detection, but
No, that works. That works here too.
you can decloak using the contaminated strike. So both of you have him in A?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, it's unanimous. Artie Farty, where do we have him?
So again, Artanis has pretty solid detection because of his ability to just conjure detection that is able to hide back at long range, is invisible and all that. The warp gate on detection is good. However, he's not that good at actually fighting the waves necessarily with short-sighted plus long range. You can do it. Your army comp is basically just going to be dependent on what enemy comp you roll, and you just rush detection and play completely normal.
Yeah, I agree.
But, normal with the comp that you would normally play against whatever enemy comp it is. Yeah. I guess could be A. He is play normal.
How about you, Twotuuu?
If you use P3, you're gonna lose observers. So if you're playing P0, then or any of the other ones, Guardian Shell will help you. But I still recommend building an extra robo, and maybe even chronoing the robo once you're finished with upgrades, just to make sure you can get observers. If the enemy has like air-to-air units, you're gonna lose your observers, like because unless you make Phoenixes to tank for the observers, they're just gonna like hit you first.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be blind. And so like Scourge, Corruptors, Corsairs, they just snipe your observers. And the reason why they send detection is because I don't know why they send detectors, but because when I played, I didn't have invisible units. But when my observers flew ahead and like a missile turret or whatever static defense hit it, they started sending detectors. Or did they always send detectors? I don't remember.
No, it's then they hit your observer. That's what triggers it. Yes.
So yeah, if you don't know like where the static defenses are, they're gonna get hit, and then they're gonna start sending detection, and their air-to-air will snipe your stuff, and it's really, really annoying.
It is.
So I don't think he's like Alarak level, but I don't think he's bad. So I put him in B.
What do you think about that, Sticksbender?
Remember, basically, I think it comes down to for a lot of commanders who don't have a big chunky hero as their detector, it's going to come down to remember what was said for Manx. The detection radius of the unit is not changed by short-sighted, only the vision radius.
Only the vision radius.
And so if the detector is like an observer that's sieged up behind your army and your army is providing vision, then the observer will still allow you to detect the enemies. So yeah, keep observers, sieged up behind your army whenever you're taking fights.
Yeah, and I think I would add more zealots here, regardless of the enemy comp, just so they would provide vision for whatever is behind in being your actual army.
Yeah.
But
and I would say that given that your observers warp in instantly, unlike Alarak sentries, and you can conjure the power field to warp them in, and also if you have a robo that's just building observers with a chronoboost on it, that's an observer every 15 seconds. It's impressive if you're losing observers that fast. So I'd say you should be fine if Twotuuu is fine with spamming that many observers.
Yeah, I agree with both. Both of you have very good points. I agree that you can just conjure up observers, but I also agree that it is still annoying to keep losing observers, especially if you don't have the bases memorized to their exact locations, especially their static defense. I personally have him in B, but I don't have any specific problems putting him in A. I think for now, I don't see him on the same level as Alarak and Arcturus. They power level, yes, but the ease and the stress-freeness of how Alarak and Arcturus deal with it, I feel like Artanis isn't quite there. That's why I personally have him in B. But if you guys agree to have him in A, I don't mind A per se. So
I said B.
yeah, I said B as well. What do you think, Sticksbender?
Right, he's in B, that means.
All right, Dehaka, where do we have him?
Dehaka, contrary to what people think, like Dehaka himself gets detection really late, but since the first wave doesn't actually come early and the first objective is even later, you can get primal worms plus Glevig to hold for quite a long time while you farm. So he's not that bad. And then at some point you just get like Mutaling or something. Mutalisks have 2 lives, Lings are just fodder. And you can also have lots of primal worms as well, which is basically instant detection in many places. So I put him in A.
What do you think, Sticksbender?
A seems surprising because yes, you can go mass worm eventually, but yeah, I mean, I guess that basically I would say just go straight up mass primal worm to make sure you have detection, because otherwise you're gonna have detection problems. You can add Mutalisks to your worms to use your gas and also counter if the enemy is like something that actually can use long range to outrange your worms. But I would say you're gonna want quite a few worms because detection's gonna be a pain always.
Also remember, isn't he?
He is a detector eventually. Also remember that if you're using P2, Dehaka continues to be a detector while he's under the ground. So you run Dehaka in and then summon the pack leader so that you actually have detection. Since for some reason the pack leaders themselves aren't detectors, so that we don't understand that reason why.
Yeah,
they're strong enough as they are.
They're strong enough as they are.
I feel like for P2 they should be detectors once Dehaka gets detection, so that you can actually just like not have to worry about the fact that our only mobile detection just disappears underground.
That would be nice. I actually think if you I actually think that it doesn't take that long to get level 5 for Dehaka, which is when you unlock the detection. I still agree though that it's annoying that you have to wait that long for him to get. He has the same issue as Abathur here, where he doesn't really get going until he gets one missing piece, which is for Abathur, it's the ultimate evolution. For Dehaka, it's detection. Where do you put him, Sticksbender?
I thought he'd only be B, but
yeah, I actually agree with B because he's very strong, but the annoying factor, it's kind of like Artanis in a way. Like Artanis is fine, but the way it plays for him is kind of annoying because of how often you lose detection. For Dehaka, it's annoying because of how late you get your detection, relative to when you would
also note that getting detection requires him to be level 5, which means getting detection requires you to kill enemies and get essence.
Lots and lots
which
of
basically means in order to get detection, you need detection.
Yes.
This is a problem.
But
you
can get worms, and you will get worms.
You will get
worms. You don't get early worms. Very slow, but it's just gonna be.
Yeah.
It's not Alarak. It's not Alarak. I'm not sure it's that much worse than A.
Also, I personally might not even go for the second prestige of Dehaka here, just so I can have that detection when the enemies start attacking 2 places at once, and they don't particularly feel like having to have worms to control groups and then manually deep tunnel them to a spot that needs detection. But yeah.
What don't you press F2 and then you control click? You go to like the end of your army. There are all the worms there. You control click it, and then they're together, and you just you hold D and move your mouse, right?
That's a lot of rapid fire. Yeah, that's still a lot of.
Is it though?
Button presses.
Is
it is.
It's it's part of
literally
your
as
F2
easy
key.
as Zeratul cannon good spam.
It's easier than Zeratul cannon.
I wouldn't say as easy as Zeratul cannon spam, because with Zeratul
the
you
same
with
thing.
Zeratul is
The
rapid
same thing-
fireable.
No, it's easier because they're all on one key. Whereas Zeratul, you have to add them to the same control group or control click them. They're part of your army. So it's like you press F2, all your worms are there.
It's not the selecting them part. My issue is it's not rapid fireable like the cannon projection.
Yes,
Plus,
it
if
is.
you
It
plus
is.
if you lose the if you no, not for me because I have a different hotkey setup. But that's beside the point. The cadence you don't lose the cadence when when the projection dies. The worms, you do lose them when the worms
But
die.
they don't die. You have like 20 worms. If you lose 2, you lose a few, but you have an army. You also have a pack leader.
Okay, so
If
both of
Also,
you.
we didn't necessarily say it was as easy or no, or sorry, we did say it was as easy as Zeratul cannon spam. It's not necessarily as powerful as Zeratul cannon spam because Zeratul cannons are strong, but
Yes.
definitely at least as easy. And if Dehaka's adding in actual army of units, yeah, it's very strong.
I would still rather have a Dehaka deep tunnel to a spot that it needs quick detection. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
When are there 2 waves at the same time?
It's not that there are 2 waves at the same time. Usually I like going on offense, so I push with Dehaka and stuff, and then this is especially true when I'm attacking the 4th terminal, while the 3rd terminal is still being defended. There are still waves to come after the 2nd suppression tower has been destroyed.
So that's your play style that's making it a bother, not Dehaka himself. That's a problem.
Yes, but that's
So
still
then
that's
not a
still
reason to like say that he's not as good because you're going on the offense when you need to be defending too.
that's still a valid issue. That's still a case that does occur. That's why. Besides, that was the point. That point was the case I used to demonstrate that I do need Dehaka sometimes to be in a different spot than where he originally is, and that's why I don't mind detailing Dehaka back to defend when he was originally pushing. That's why I said that I'd rather have Dehaka tunnel back than have a worm tunnel to that spot.
So if you're attacking with Dehaka, can't you just summon a pack leader at the spot, especially Glevik, who kills a wave and goes back to fighting?
Yeah, that can also be used if it's available.
Can we also remember that Dehaka actually has Greater Primal Worm as a top bar?
Yes, that Greater
is a
Primal Worm.
detector
Greater
that
Primal Worm
you
also is a
summon
thing.
Top bar that
In fact, I would rather just have a bank of Primal Worm or Greater Primal Worms than make separate Primal that consume supply, by the way.
You have both.
And, yeah, but I would rather have my valuable supply in Mulisks than Primal Worms.
Yeah, but you're going to be gas limited, not supply limited. Well, eventually you'll be supply limited, but by that point
Yes.
you have more Mutalisks than you could ever need, so you might as well add worms to your Mutalisks.
I don't mind. I'm just saying from my personal playstyle standpoint. I don't really. It's been a long time since I last found the need to specifically make regular primal worms, even as Dehaka or even against We Move Unseen, because
So
the
he's
availability.
because you refuse to adjust to the mutator.
I did not put him in B because I need to make primal worms. I put him in B because it takes a while to get. I think you're missing the point here. I just use that as a case to demonstrate that I need Dehaka sometimes to return to a spot that needs defending. I did not put that as a reason that to have him in B. I said that I had him in B because it takes him a while to get detection. That was what I said.
You have way more than enough time to get detection.
Yeah,
In
and
the
that
early game,
and that I'm fine with. I'm not saying that I'm immovable on my B. I just said that I personally, and you know this. I always change my ranking to wherever you guys want him. So I'm just saying my perspective. I had him in B because X, Y, Z. I'm not saying I'm insisting. If you guys both have an A, that's perfectly fine with me. All right.
Ironically,
Yeah.
your argument for B kind of convinced me that he's probably A.
He's
very
probably
ironically.
A. All right. So, both of you guys say A, so let's have him A. Phoenix, where do we have him?
So he does have a detector hero unit. He has to upgrade the dex for his hero unit, but that doesn't take long and it's not expensive.
Yeah, that's a very quick upgrade. I wouldn't hold that against him.
And then after that, he
Plus, you can get cannons right away. Like you don't have a tech tree
yeah,
for
you don't need a
cannons.
forge. Hooray! After that, he can either get the Caldella's wood chipper style, or you can just mass carriers with Arbiter and some observers.
Yes, that also works.
Either way works. Both ways involve something short range, even if the short range thing is interceptors in the case of the carriers. Running in and doing all the getting vision short-sighted and tanking everything and just kind of steamrolling.
Yes.
It's not like he'll be like unaffected by the mutators. They'll all three of them be annoying.
Yes.
But should work fine. Probably B.
What do you think, Twotuuu?
Oh, I put him in A because just walks over everything. But yeah, he has a mobile detector. I make observers too, just because in case the arbiter needs to go out, like leave for another suit, you can still have detection. So you make observers, and then I think I used P2 steamroll.
Yeah, that works.
Steamroll it.
That works very well. I also had him in A, but
I'm fine with him in A. The only reason I considered B is because I respect long range as a mutator greatly, and it is I consider it a very significant threat purely because of how there's certain comps, specifically mostly the Terran ones, that just become really mean with long range.
Oh yes, that's definitely true. Terran is annoying a lot of the time, especially when Cyclones get long range. My goodness, what a nightmare.
On the other side though, Terran doesn't send detectors, so you can siege your observers in places where like along the paths, and they won't send detectors until like the last part.
That's true. All right. I think we can all agree on A, right?
I put it in
okay.
A, yeah.
Yeah, with or without prestige, still A.
Still A.
Han and Horner, where do we have them?
Han and Horner has an invisible detector.
Nice.
But if you're P1, it costs a lot of gas. If you're P2, it costs less gas, but still costs
some gas.
Some gas. Early on, mag mines plus detectors can hold off for quite some time. Later on, you can get carrier galleons or Horner units. Strike fighters are good because they can take out missile turrets or something. Yeah. Any static defense that can shoot you.
I like siege tanks.
Yeah. So they're kind of enemy dependent though, and it's losing too many ravens results in you being blind for some time, so you don't want to lose ravens.
Ironically, not because of the gas, but because of the cooldown. B is fine for me as well. How about you, Sticksbender?
I don't know. The fact that ravens can get caught on cooldown, leaving you blind completely, and the fact that short-sighted and long-range both are quite a pain, especially feels like you're gonna get your galleons sniped when they're just loading forward like idiots because you haven't got vision of the army yet. I don't know. I'd feel like they're more in C, but I guess they could be B. It's not like I'm saying C verging on D. It's not that bad, but B's fine. I would say C though.
All right. Since we're all fine with B, we can have him in B. Karax, where do we have him?
Karax makes cannons. The cannons see things, they tank things. They unfortunately get outranged by things, but then monoliths help with that. Yeah, short-sighted's annoying, but not unmanageable. Make lots of observers because you're mostly spending minerals for your buildings with just enough gas to get your monoliths. And solar lance can delete waves.
Oh yes, very hard.
That never stops being the case. It's just a delete button. It can purify beam. So yeah, I feel like Karax can, especially with the fact that you just have tanky detecting cannons sitting in front of everything, and they just stay there forever because you just place the cannons and there are now cannons there. Yeah, Karax seems actually S tier because Karax good.
Okay, how about you?
Karax is really good here, yeah.
How about you?
I don't think he's S because his pushing is tricky. Like you can defend really, really well, but pushing is really, really tricky because you can't see. And if you're not familiar with the map, it's gonna be hard to put observers in safe places where you can kind of see and solar lance stuff or purifier beam. So unless you're really familiar with the map, it's pushing is gonna be rough, which is why I use P2 and I just masked carrier and
with
had
an observer.
observers.
Yeah, following.
Yeah.
Plus
that was very easy.
Yeah, with the second prestige.
And there's healing and stuff. So
yeah, lots of healing.
I didn't put him in S, but I put him in A.
Okay. I also had him in A. What I had in mind for defense is instead of cannons, I would just siege up an observer there, and I would just use solar lance or orbital strikes to beat off the waves. Or you can have a pylon just warp in some sentinels, and then supplement with orbital strikes. That's what I had in mind, but I also had him in A. Sticksbender, are you going to make a case for S?
The pushing is a bit annoying because I was expecting you to just use monoliths, but yeah, I guess we can assume that he doesn't necessarily. There's some really strong S candidates here, so
All right.
Karax A is fine.
Sure. Kerrigan, where do we have him?
Omega worms.
Omega worms.
Everywhere.
They
Just
exist.
Put them everywhere, and she can do everything. She can, if you're not using P2, you can have 200 damage immobilization wave that kills things that you can't even see in the next areas, and you can pop detectors that tank and help you move around easily. And then later on, you just have like ultralisks or something to spend your money on.
Yes.
So I put her in S.
Nice. I actually had her in A, but S sounds good. How about you, Sticksbender?
Also, if you are P2, then the zap from P2 also can fire into the darkness where you don't have vision nor detection of and hit cloaked units.
It's really cool.
So yeah, S, Kerrigan good.
Nice. All right. Both of you say S, so we'll have an S. Nova, where do we have him?
Nova has a hero unit of detection, which is a mobile hero unit with detection, and a hero unit that if it dies, she can respawn it immediately and on the spot, unlike Dehaka, who revives it home immediately if you send him drones to eat. So that's good.
I really like
Ravens
how
already were one of your best units, so that's
they're
good.
even better. I really like how Nova's most expendable unit is Nova herself.
Yes, my most expendable unit is me. Yeah.
Letter.
She could also go into S.
We actually had her in S. How about you, Twotuuu?
Yeah, and one more thing to add is that you can airstrike things you can't see either.
That's
so
true.
if you know where, if like there are enemies like in the encampments, you can just kind of clear them in advance. Because you play with the usual air comp and you'll do fine. You have a detector plus more ravens that throw turrets down to tank or Arana as well.
Yes.
So S.
All right, unanimous.
I will make one note about the airstriking things that you can't see. You have to have vision for airstrike still. It's just that you don't have to have vision of both ends of the airstrike.
Yes.
And airstrike is pretty long. So that's why you can just nuke entire bases when only just seeing one edge of the base. Another note is that you can use sabotage drones to get vision of enemy bases, which is really helpful for using the nuke from Nova, because you just send forth the sabotage drone, drop that where you want to fire the nuke. That gives vision for you, so you can now cast the nuke from maximum range, which means that Nova can stay out of detection range and out of aggro range to be able to nuke the base even if you aren't P3.
I'm not sure about that last part because long range is long range, but other than that, I actually agree.
Nuke the edge of the base, but you can still nuke it.
Speaking of, if Kerrigan is not, or if Kerrigan is Malevolent Matriarch, the first prestige, she's probably not S. Just putting it out there, because Omega Worms make her S. Raynor, where do we have him?
In order to push, you gotta pay. To defend, you can make some turrets. And so it's nice to have detection whenever you want, wherever you want, but it comes at a cost. So I don't know. I don't think he's very good. If you use P3, I still recommend making vultures, because if you don't kill the things on the ground, like Immortals will just attack Orana if they have nothing else to hit. Even if you have a bunch of battle cruisers, if the battle cruisers are busy shooting stalkers or dragoons or something, the Immortals will hit the objective. So you don't want that to happen. We move Unseen and Raynor. It's just not good. I put him in C.
Okay. How about you, Sticksbender?
Once he gets going, he's very easy because he can, nullify the mutators. But it's very much a once he gets going. I personally would considerably prefer Raynor over Han and Horner again, because Raynor is just stronger than Han and Horner. But I could see how the early game concern of you have to macro like crazy in the early game would be very problematic.
I don't think Raynor's better than Han and Horner here, because Han and Horner has mobile detection. That doesn't require you to pay every time to use it.
The flip side of that is that their mobile detection is fragile and relatively irreplaceable, and
It has cloak,
Jimmy once he gets rolling, Jimmy is able to just say, "Hey, look, everyone, I ignore 2 out of the 3 mutators completely." The problem is that it just takes a while to get there.
Yeah, that's expensive to do. I think you need 8 orbitals to have continuous scan. 100% uptime. Something
No,
like
you don't
that.
need 8 orbitals for 100% uptime on scan.
Something like that. I think it's like 10 seconds per scan and energy, something like that.
I
Anyway,
thought it was 3.
3 seconds? Oh, it was 10. It's
No,
more like
3
10.
orbitals. I thought it was 3 orbitals to maintain 100% uptime on scan in a single location if you're not using annuals.
I don't
But
think
it's just
3
that
is
you
the number,
scan
but-
multiple times per fight because you don't just necessarily scan in one area is why you want more than 3 orbitals.
Yeah. Anyway, so we all had him in C.
I had him in B, but
Oh.
whatever.
You had him in B. Oh, are you okay with C?
Yeah.
All right. Statboy S. Moving on. All right. Where do I have him?
His Zerglings are tanky. Gary is very tanky because we decided he should have 2,000 hit points for some reason that we don't quite understand. So you have a chonky detector hero that kills everything, and you have Zerglings that tank things, and you have tanky air unit and tanky ground unit.
Yes.
Kind of just does end up making his way into S tier with that.
Yeah.
Also, Steadilites let you, have a little bit more breathing room for seeing where things are because you'll get mini-map pinged when they shoot your Steadilites. Unless
Absolutely.
you're P1, and then you don't get anything and you suffer horribly.
All right. How about you, Twotuuu?
Nothing to add really.
All right.
Just fly around, kill everything.
Statboy S. Stukov, where do we have him?
Stukov has queens. So if you haven't been using queens, there have been like many Afraid of the Dark / We Move Unseen mutations recently. So should be using queens by now. Even if you don't, you can still Lord of the Horde and just focus on moving observers to like let your dudes see stuff. And yeah. So it's pretty much P3 mass zombies and eventually they'll die. I put him in A.
Oh, how about you, Sticksbender?
Makes sense to me.
Oh, okay. Both of you say I actually had him in B because the same problem. It takes him a while to get the queens, but again, yeah, overseers are still a thing. You can actually also make missile turrets, which also provide detection. All right. Both of you say A, so let's have him in A. Swann.
Oh, I used P1.
Oh, you use P1. Okay. You said mass zombies.
I mean,
Queens work a bit easier with P1 because with the mass zombies you have to constantly refresh it because the zombies are constantly getting high turnover rate, whereas with P1 you just spit it on a Diamondback and it lasts for the whole duration.
Oh yeah, it lasts for the whole game. But yeah, yeah. If both of you guys say A, I'll let you guys have A. Swann, where do we have him?
Bad Karax. He has buildings. He has build the buildings. He can go units as well. The units are not as good as Karax carriers, but they're functional. And he has detection that is actually relatively chonky because you have two of them together and they can just sit there healing each other. And instead of solo lancing everything, you have a laser drill. So that helps. As long as you can see them, they'll get killed eventually. I feel like Swann can still make his way into A tier.
Okay.
But, he's just bad Karax.
All right. How about
It's like
you,
top
Twotuuu?
of A versus bottom of A.
How about you, Twotuuu?
In general, I try not to use the base prestige just because there are lots of runs that have already used those, and I want to have records with different prestiges. But this one, I couldn't use the other prestiges. I needed the call downs. I used P0 and not wraiths because otherwise Orana gets hit. So I had static defense as well, but their stuff has really long range, and I can't see them. Science vessels, if not managed, they die.
They will die.
Yeah, but with enough of them, you heal your stuff and you can use the protocol, the immortality protocol. I also put him in A.
All right. Yeah, I actually had Swann in B, but both of you guys say A, so let's have him in A. I actually also would have brought out the point of using no prestige because the concentrated beam and pulse cannon are still really good. They can hit stuff, especially concentrated beam because your base is in the southwest corner and you can essentially reach to the end of the map with your concentrated beam if you place it right. Pulse cannon also really good. Tychus, where do we have him?
I think you just use anything that's not P2 and you get a fixer early on or even Sirius, but I think fixer is safer and then you play normally. Well, you get hit. You might get hit more than usual. So maybe having medevac cooldown mastery is better.
All right.
But at some point you'll get like rattlesnake and you will heal a lot. You'll be fine. So I put him in S.
Oh, nice. How about you, Sticksbender?
And also just once you have more reliable detection, slap a Blaze in front of things because he's just chonky, or Cannonball. I would note Blaze can sort of detect his oil dusty cloak ground units that it slaps on.
Nice.
But that's probably not good enough to be your only detection by getting Blaze first. Well, it would be good enough, but you'd probably be making things hard for yourself and creating unnecessary chance of failure due to unable to shoot up, because you can't detect up in that case. And also you can only detect when the ability's off cooldown. So probably get a more reliable detector first. But
Yeah.
yes.
So letter?
Yeah, no, he's asked. He's just
All right.
You just steamroll things. You have very, very tanky front line.
I agree
your
with everything
detection
I
on your
agree with
tanky
everything
use.
you guys said. I would just like to add that you could probably also make the second prestige work if you just have Tychus defend the transport, and you can kind of see the attack as blurs, and if they shoot stuff, you can kind of see the projectiles, so you can kind of aim your grenade at those while Sirius does the clearing. But again, I prefer the other way because what would you split up your army? Anyway,
I mean, with the Tychus thing, like that probably leaves like a few stragglers, and those stragglers shoot the transport. It's better to just have Tychus like
Yeah.
sits at home in the base,
doing
and
nothing.
it's just base defense turret.
Really?
I mean, he can defend attack ways, or
The-
once you get
the base-
auto turrets set up somewhere, Tychus can defend there. But I'd just put Nux on top of the transport or something and have Sirius clear. Makes
I
more
guess
sense.
it works. Anyway, I'm just trying to describe a way where the second prestige would work, and you just agreed with my point. Thank you. Vorazun, where do we have him?
Vorazun can't see. She is blind. I mean, she technically has oracles and cannons, obviously, but oracles have like every single AI flag on them to make the AI target them.
Yes.
So that's unhealthy.
Yes.
And you can make cannons, but you don't have instant warping cannons, so you'll probably want to make cannons anyways. You'll want to just spam a whole bunch of cannons. Yeah, she seems kind of bad, I'm gonna be honest with you, because of the whole not being able to see easily. And against certain comps, it would be really, really bad trying to keep oracles alive, because if they have long-range air units, like air units that have a long base range, and now long-range make them have a longer range, and they already prefer to target fire your oracle over attacking any of your actual fighting units, yeah, you're gonna have a hard time being able to see anything.
Better.
So, see.
How about you, Twotuuu?
I fought against Siege of Storms. It was random. So Siege of Storms, where I mastered
Void Race?
the usual trio.
Oh, okay.
The usual trio of stuff, and it was fine. Cause well, they have others. I think I had oracles in another group so that I could like pull them back if I needed to. But and with time stop, you get detection for of it, and you can kill all the detectors. So Vorazun's army, once you kill their detectors, you get to hit them free, even though So it's basically make lots of oracles, make sure you have at least one alive. That part is kind of annoying though.
Yes.
I put her in B.
B. Wow, that's higher than I thought. I actually had her in D. Okay, so we have an interesting one here. Sticksbender, are you gonna make a case for C?
No. I mean, Siege of Storms is not the worst comp for you, but it's also not the best, so makes... I mean, she clearly can do it. I know she can do it. I know I'd be fine doing it with her. It's just that, detection's gonna be inconvenient.
Alright, that's okay.
So,
okay. Both of you guys
B
had
is
him...
fine.
Yeah, both of you guys have him in B. I had him in D, but again, you guys have the deciding votes.
I mean, I originally had C. I just don't think strongly enough of that C to say that she has to be there.
I played Vorazun and I think strongly of D, but again, you guys have the deciding votes.
We could just stick her in C as the average.
The average. Well, but I think Twotuuu, are you strong with your B? I don't think I will fight for D, because my D is more like she's really, 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 really annoying. So the D is more about she's so annoying rather than she's so weak, if that makes sense.
I'm not super strong on the B. I put her in B because before we started, I didn't put anyone in C. I put Raynor and Abathur in C after reconsidering their early game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
but
shall we pull Vorazun down to C or something?
I don't have a big problem with that.
All right. Okay, let us do that then. Pull Vorazun down to C. I originally wanted D, but I was actually... Okay, go ahead.
I will add that at the last terminal, like I was maxed out and I had 4,000 minerals. So basically, you can summon a dark pylon and just build tons of cannons at Orana to defend. You have lots and lots of money.
Yeah.
If you also if you have lots and lots of money, it's not necessarily a terrible idea to just slap a nexus at the last terminal so that so that if emergency recall happens, they recall to the nexus right there, which means that they'll be right back on the front before they get a chance to like do anything. So you might just lose your units right after that because of that. But if you
That's-
have lots of money, then that just means you're able to free up supply that would otherwise be spent on units who are sauntering across the map.
That actually makes
which
a lot of
is
sense.
obviously bad.
Yeah.
That's a good general Vorazun tip. It's like in the mid game or towards the late game when you have lots of extra minerals, you just dump a nexus closer to where you're at. I do that for the middle area and the last area. Just dump a nexus.
Speaking of general Vorazun tips, do you guys get armor and shield upgrades for Vorazun?
Never.
How about attack upgrades?
Sometimes shields. I get attack upgrades, but
Always
I get
attack.
them. I get them a bit. Ground attack upgrades I get a bit late. Air attack upgrades I get really fast because they're very, very important for Corsairs to do anything. Shields I usually get them eventually if the map goes long enough because once I'm getting to max out, why not?
Yeah,
that's
so
it.
do ground attack upgrades affect Shadow Fury? Because you've been on record, Sticksbender,
No.
saying that
No,
the...
if ground attack upgrades affected Shadow Fury, you'd be getting them super fast.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
They
If
do
you're
affect
using
Shadow
those-
Guard's regular attack.
Yeah, they do affect the regular attack, which is why I was asking if it's worth getting
It's just,
the...
you get them because it affects the regular attack, which is helpful. It's not like their primary way of dealing damage, but it's useful to have the extra attack, especially just for slapping objectives and buildings, just buildings in general.
All right.
It's useful.
Cool.
But yeah, Shadow Fury doesn't get affected by weapon upgrades, which is why I say like ground weapon upgrades are not a huge priority because Shadow Fury is most of the damage anyways, and Shadow Fury doesn't get affected. Air weapon upgrades are a huge priority because Corsairs just don't deal damage without weapon
Just
upgrades.
don't deal damage, my goodness. Zagara, where do we have him?
This is a great map for P1. Just P1, run into everything, make like 7 overseers or more, and add corruptors to tank for the overseers. A few, you don't need a lot, just in case.
Make every...
You want something that the enemies can hit.
Yeah, make every last one of your overlords an overseer, just so you may never run out of
I wouldn't
detection.
waste that much gas, but yeah. Like I actually
Angel
made
detection
manually
solution of
turn
war
Zerglings
detectors.
into banelings.
Spores would probably also be useful so that you only spend minerals instead of gas. Plus static defense, right? They don't get
Well,
sniped.
if you build like a macro hatch in the center or something, yes, you can do that. Otherwise, spreading creep is really annoying with short-sighted. So
Oh, I was thinking Overlord.
Yes.
Overlord
Overlord.
creep poop. That's what I
Those
was
could just
thinking.
get
No.
sniped. I would just build
Yeah.
a macro hatch. You want macro hatches anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
You do want macro
Letter
hatcheries
is,
anyway.
Letter, I put her in A.
Okay, how about you, Sixbender?
Hey, that's surprising.
Yeah, I actually had her in B.
I thought she would be in like B, but I mean, I'm not opposed to Zagara A that strongly.
Yeah. I originally had her in B thinking that
Evasion, good.
other commanders were better than her, but the more I look at this is like, yeah, everyone seems to be an A if they don't have a problem. Zagara does not have a problem, so I don't have a problem with A either.
I mean, Artanis doesn't have a problem either, and Han Horner's problem isn't that bad.
So then let's just move everyone to A.
I would say Zagara's much easier to use, and it's
Oh yes,
like
Zagara.
you also have evasion. So when you're clearing, you can lose a few lings, and it's not going to hinder your progress.
That's true. And besides, the enemy's not really stronger. They're not tankier, so you don't need more.
That's true. You don't have to worry about needing more damage to slam into them with the Banelings and Scourge. You just need to worry about the fact they get maybe an extra volley off with long range, but fine. You'll be fine. Everything's fine.
I think A is fine.
Okay, if she is A, she's not a high A. She's like the bottom of A.
I can agree with that. Zeratul, where do we have him?
Anyways, he's S because he just
Cannons, good.
spams cannons. His observers can see far.
Do the tornadoes
Uh,
also track enemies?
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
Nice.
I remember doing no mining with We Move Unseen. Some other mission. I forgot which one.
Might have been Skytop Aim1 or something.
No, I think it was Void Thrashing.
Void Rashing? Cool.
Mm.
Alright, Zeratul S. So let's go to
Yeah.
rankings. Who's top of S?
Kerrigan, not
Kerrigan.
close.
Okay. Second.
Stetmann?
Yes, that boy.
Uh,
I agree with that boy because
uh,
zones. You can vote your ally. Haha. Plus, Gary will never die. Never.
There's no fear. He's always ready to
He's
fight.
always ready to fight. He's a robot. What would he even be afraid of? Who's next?
Yeah, okay, sure. And then
Nova?
probably Nova, and then
Nova.
Then I would say Zeratul just slightly over Tychus
Seems
because
a little higher than Tychus, yeah.
yeah, because cannons can be in more places than once, whereas your
Because
Tychus.
observers, even if they fixed observers to no longer get like almost their full vision radius for Zeratul, they still have a pretty big vision radius,
Oh yeah. Actually,
even under short-sighted.
with that
Assuming you get the third artifact.
with that factored in, wouldn't the Zeratul be better than Nova here? Or is Nova better because the hero herself is the detector? Is that the deciding factor?
That's one thing.
Okay. All right. So it's Kerrigan, Stetboy, Nova, Zeratul, and Tychus, right?
Yeah, that works fine for me.
All right. Who's top of A?
Karax.
Karax.
Yeah. All right. Karax. He was an S candidate, I think.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Stukov?
Minx. Stukov. Minx.
Stukov or Arcturus? I can have those two and three. And then I think Alarak next. Or
Yeah,
Fenix.
maybe.
How about Fenix? Phoenix.
No, I'd say probably
I think
Alarak
Alarak
next. Then
above Phoenix.
yeah,
Alarak
I'd
above
actually say
Phoenix.
Dehaka above Phoenix too.
Okay. And then Swann and Zagara to round
Then
it out.
Swann, then Zagara.
All right. So
Yeah.
we have Karax, Arcturus, Stuky Boy, Alarak, Slappy Boy, Phoenix, Swann, and Zaggy Boy.
I feel like Stukov's second place, but whatever.
It's probably interchangeable. You can play whoever. We can call it a tie, and Arcturus just comes ahead alphabetically. There we go.
Alright.
Or B, who's better between
Definitely Artanis.
Artanis and Han and Artanis? Okay, I'm okay with that. And then for C, who's the best between Abathur, Raynor, and Vorazun? Vorazun was a B, right? So I wouldn't
Yeah,
mind.
I think Vorazun's better than those two.
All right.
Abathur above Raynor.
I would prefer Raynor personally over the other two both, but okay.
They all have mobile detection.
Yeah, I think having mobile detection is important.
Having the ability to nullify short-sighted past a point is also
I
really
think-
good.
I think the main difference of opinion here about having detection as Raynor is because Twotuuu is so used to soloing without anyone else providing any sort of help. Whereas if you have any sort of ally who has any sort of brain, they would have a detection at least some of the time, which would nullify the need for constant scanning, which would make Raynor much less expensive than if you were actually soloing.
Nah, it's because I'm a 1v1 player and I'm used to constant scanning as being the norm past the early game.
Oh, I have nothing. I have
You
no,
constant scan. You constant scan anyways.
I have nothing on it.
even
I have nothing to say that. I
Oh.
don't play 1v1.
So it's like I have to constant scan past the early game. Well, that changes nothing.
Oh well.
So
Yeah. Maybe we can call Abathur and Raynor a tie, and Abathur just coming ahead by virtue of being alphabetically ahead. There we go.
we could. Except I was saying that I would say Raynor above both of them, but
Oh, Raynor
whatever.
with both of them.
It doesn't really matter. Yeah, I think I'd consider Raynor my favorite of the three there by quite a bit.
Okay.
those
What do you say to that, Twotuuu? Are you okay with Raynor being ahead of both of them?
I don't think like relying on your ally is not a good strategy.
I'm
I
not
mean, like-
saying rely on your ally.
No, it's just like you're gonna so then that means you're gonna be scanning and you're gonna be losing money. Depending on the enemy
Yeah.
comp,
I
they
think-
might
I think there's something that's not connecting. I'm not saying that you have to rely on your ally to provide detection all the time. I'm just saying that instead of using 100 scans or 0 scans, maybe you can use like 60 scans or 70 scans, which is a lot less, but still a lot. But that's what I'm saying. Like if you have an ally, you don't need to scan 100% of the time.
even so his army is still
That's
not
true.
as strong.
That's true. That's the second point. With maps like these, you have hybrids that storm. You have reavers, disruptors, siege tanks, banelings sometimes. That's what I would say that puts Raynor at the bottom. That's what
Any-
I'd prefer Raynor's expendable army against no short-sighted versus Vorazun's army against short-sighted personally, but
Actually,
like
also a good
Vorazun
point.
against short-sighted hurts. That's why I put her below Raynor in my opinion.
That's also a good point. You know what? They're all in C. They're all the least recommended, so I don't think it matters that much.
Yeah. Like Vorazun basically suffers from both forms of I can't see. I can't see as in she's terrible at teching, but also I can't see as in she kind of is based around long range stuff with her Dark Templar,
All
and
right.
she can't be long ranged if it's short sighted.
True. Anyway, do we have any combinations of B and C commanders who might be better than someone in S? No.
Yeah, Abathur or Jimmy are great anytime you have someone who's good early game.
I still
Just,
wouldn't
like-
take them over someone like a Kerrigan or a Stetboy.
Yeah, no, but well, okay. If you're setting the bar at compared to S commanders, then well, I think
Yeah.
Kerrigan is like Kerrigan can solo this easier than almost any duo ever.
Yeah.
Honestly, Kerrigan soloing this would be probably even similar to like Stetmann Nova. Like Kerrigan's really, really, really good. Holy smokes, Kerrigan's good here. But if you compare it to like A tier,
yeah, maybe the A tier. Well, A tier is just one tier above the B and C, so or the B, so that's a little closer. But I think there's
Jimmy Artanis or something would probably work fine. Artanis is
Raynor Artanis.
Jimmy eventually gets enough orbitals that he can just scan constantly and nullify both short-sighted and we move unseen get nullified for both players because he could just scan for everyone. And,
that'll work. So that'll work to a certain. That'll work well-ish, but I would still rather have Kerrigan or even Stetboy.
Just use Kerrigan.
Just use Kerrigan. Anyway, guys, that is this week's tier list. Watch Twotuuu and Sticksbender's channels. I will link them down below, and I will see you guys next time.